This is CityCast Seattle. I'm Jane C. Hu, and here's what Seattle's talking about. Chum News is Seattle's newest online magazine, mixing art, food, politics, and more. We're going to talk with its founders about what it takes to launch a new publication in Seattle these days. Plus, we'll discuss the Seattle neighborhoods with a plurality of kids, 20-somethings, and 70-somethings, and we're going to run through the week's biggest headlines so far in our midweek medley. But first, today is the first day of CityCast Seattle's spring membership campaign. If you didn't already know, members get access to all sorts of fun little perks like ad-free listening, invitations to our members-only events, and now a bonus segment on Fridays. If you join us now, we're also giving away this custom city pennant developed in partnership with Oxford Pennant. If you don't already know their work, they make these beautiful felt wool pennants, and they've made this teal one with an image of Tahoma, or Mount Rainier, that says, "I live here on purpose," because we do. We live here on purpose. So we'll link to an image of the pennant in the show notes. We'll also have it up on our Instagram later this week. You can join us at membership.citycast.fm/Seattle. It's $10 a month or $100 a year. You get to support local media and you get a sweet pennant. So if you're thinking about it, give that a look. Membership.citycast.fm/Seattle. Okay, now on to today's show. We have with us the founders of Chum. We've got photographer Moran Mungastab. Welcome, Moran.
Hey, how's it going?
And we've got also journalist Adam Willems. How's it going, Adam?
Doing well, thank you, thank you.
And we have Brett Hamill, writer, performer, and the cartoonist behind the weekly series Doom Loop. Welcome back, Brett.
Long live local arts media.
Yes, exactly. So, Moran and Adam, I think CityCast in Seattle and Chum might be fellow Scorpios. I feel like we launched in early November. If I'm getting this right, I think you all did as well.
That's true. We launched in November, and that's funny. Yeah, we share the same energy.
Totally. I don't know much about astrology, so I don't
That's why
really know
like
what the
dodging it a little
Scorpio
bit.
energy is.
Yeah.
I am channeling our CityCast Seattle contributor, Eula Scott Bino, who's really into astrology and would probably have things to say about that. But how did Chum come about?
Me and Adam, my now fiance, was roommates with Adam's good friend in college. And we met through that. I'm a photographer. I've been doing freelance photography for a long time, and Adam is a freelance journalist. We would often talk about kind of the media landscape in Seattle. We would find that we would have these story ideas about Seattle, but we kept kind of falling into a weird place of where can it be placed in Seattle. It would kind of fall into, well, I don't really know how to place it in Seattle, so let me see if a New York Times or somewhere where kind of another publication would be interested. And that bummed us out. We wanted to just help expand the kinds of places stories could get pitched. That was a big part of our early careers, were these institutions or publications that left room for you to kind of come in, maybe not necessarily have that much experience. We were worked with to find a good way to speak on what we want to talk about. And so that's kind of what it was in terms of keeping in mind for early creatives, writers, photographers, illustrators, but also that's clearly a problem for people who are farther in their careers as well. So it felt like it could serve a pretty wide creative community.
What kinds of stories are you all telling that you feel like you couldn't get placed elsewhere? And also what sets you all apart from the existing Seattle publications?
I was covering the Boeing strikes, was that 2 years ago for Seattle Met. And I was standing along the picket line and I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to have a fashion photographer along and then have an article that's like the hottest fits on the picket line or something like that as sort of like an entry point into talking about labor issues, but in this way that also hits on maybe other topics that people would be interested in. There being sort of like a supplemental element to the story. And that's sort of carried into a lot of the stories that we've been telling at Chum also. So for example, we have a series of author interviews, including with Max Delson, who was a guest on the podcast.
We love Max.
We love Max. So we have this whole column called Dining and Writing, where we review a book, we interview an author, and we also go to sort of a local dining institution at the same time, a restaurant. And so you're blending food writing, literary analysis, a profile all in one. So that's sort of something that we wanted to do. And then we know you're a fan of fairy tales also. That's another
Yes.
sort of example where we're talking about transportation regulations and labor rights and the day-to-day life of working sort of within one of the most iconic sort of forms of transportation in the United States, but doing that sort of in a cheeky way with an anonymous deckhand and having these really brilliant illustrations by Jed Jutt, who's a senior at Cornish.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I didn't realize that the illustrator was a student. That's incredible. I do feel like that's such a beautiful blending of mediums too. And one that really stuck out to me. It wasn't just the storytelling, it was also the illustrations. Brett, I know you are a longtime freelancer. What do you see as the role of small, independent, worker-owned magazines like Chum?
We need them so bad, and so I'm so thankful that you guys are doing this. I wrote for City Arts magazine for about 8 years in the 2000 teens. And, the stranger can't catch everything. Even more now, everyone is on a skeleton crew. And back then, the rap was that, you'd go see a band that they had praised to the rooftops and you'd be like, that's it. And then you'd find out they were dating one of the editors or something. So we need as many different looks at the art scene as possible to kind of get around some of that insularity. I came up reading Seattle-ish, if any old heads remember
Yes.
Seattle-ish. And some of these other hyper local blogs. Of course, now I produce stuff for the South Seattle Emerald, which is another hyper local independent media. And I'm saying this not as someone who works in local media, but as an artist. We need more professional noticers to be like, this is cool. And if you don't have that, it's a huge gap. It's like the gap in the Burke Gilman Trail, to appeal to
The
you.
missing link, yeah.
The missing link. If you don't have the professional noticers noticing, all the people that would actually appreciate that stuff never get to see it because no one noticed it. So yes, I'll scream from the rooftops.
Yeah.
I love local arts media.
I also just love the term professional noticer.
Yeah.
That was from my editor in chief at City Arts. That's how she often formulated what we were doing.
And to add to that, I think that there's a lot of great publications that touch on so many hyper-specific communities, hyper-specific regions. I'm always going to be an advocate for more, but I also think that as many spaces and opportunities for people to have a place to reach out to, right? So if something doesn't necessarily fit into another editorial calendar, or like you mentioned, there's a lot of people on skeleton crews. A lot of people might have that beat covered in a different way and they don't necessarily feel comfortable. These are all reasonable reasons. And I think any place that somebody has an opportunity to say, well, they'll listen, right? They'll hear me out. They'll be interested in at least having a conversation. And that's been a big thing for us with our events. It's been a great opportunity for people to come and talk to us, just literally passively talk to us about their ideas. And we've had pitches that have formulated through just kind of conversation at the events we do as well.
I love that when something comes up organically and you're like, oh, we're into the same cool stuff. Let's run a piece. Okay, so I also wanted to know, where did the name Chum come from? Is it chum as in the British word for friends, or is it chum salmon? All of the above, something I'm not thinking of?
All of the
Short
above.
answer is
yeah.
yes.
Yes. That's the answer.
So yeah, it's chum salmon, chum friend, chumming the waters. You want it, you got it, is the ethos there.
The name really did come from us just kind of yelling things at each other in a coffee shop until both of us laughed. Wait,
what were the other ones?
Oh,
Other
it was
strong
a
contenders?
blackout. We were not. Unless we have notes somewhere. But I feel like we were just saying things, looking up, and then both of us kind of reacted. And I do know it was Adam's the one who yelled "chum" at some point, and I started laughing hysterically. And I was like, okay, that's good. We should do that. So
That's it. Yeah. If it brings you joy, it's going to bring other people joy.
Exactly. Yeah. And a big core for us too is we like living here, we enjoy it, and it's easy to get kind of sucked into all the things that are hard about living here. And so we just wanted to have a name that felt like we like it and we enjoy it and we're friends. Yeah.
So one of the things that I really appreciate about Chum is how transparent you all are about how you want to grow. So if folks go to chum.news, which they should, you all have a whole document that shows how you are planning to grow and what your rates will be if you all make a certain amount per month and are able to pay folks. How are you all planning to grow in coming years? Like, and is there anything coming up that you all are especially excited about to point people towards?
There are a few things. First, absolutely reader support at the moment is our primary driver of revenue and what enables us to pay creative people of all stripes in Seattle to tell stories that they care about. There's a really beautiful and direct income to outcome correlation there. And our main priority at this point is to pay people better. Currently, we pay a flat $150 rate, which is only, to shoot some shots, only like $50 less than what the Seattle Times pays a lot of freelancers. So we don't think it's that criminal, but we don't think that it's what we would want to sort of rest our laurels on, or whatever the saying is. We've applied to a number of grants. We're reaching out to philanthropic sources. We see events as another source of revenue. We're doing, I think, what any media startup in 2026 is doing, which is trying to sort of club together all sorts of forms of revenue to have a full-time operation over time. As far as events go and things that we're excited about, we have an event on May 7th at Cedar Tea House, which is a poetry reading, and that is free and open to the public, and that's hosted by our poetry editor, Lou Hughes. We're really excited about that. And we have a ticketed event, and you should absolutely get your tickets, on May 15th. It's called Early Onset Pride Month, and it's
So good.
thank you. It's a drag performance, a stacked lineup, hosted by Miss Texas 1988. And then we've got a whole
Yes.
ream of performers, burlesque and drag performers, DJ Dark Wiley on the turntables. It's going to be an amazing time. It's on our website today. Just go to chum.news and tickets are available for sale there.
Sweet. Well, I think it's already on our events page. If it's not, we'll make sure it's on there. But
Thank you.
It sounds fun as hell. Let's take a break. And when we come back, let's talk about Seattle neighborhoods. Hey, Liam, have you ever been to the Washington State Spring Fair?
Hey, Jane, I haven't, but I'm looking at the website and it looks pretty fun.
Are your kids into seeing animals?
Oh my God. The constant debate in this house is what's the best animal.
What about carnival games?
Yeah, I think they could be convinced.
What about festival rides?
Oh, yeah, I want to do that.
And, okay, my favorite, eating too much funnel cake.
Oh, I'm already doing that.
I'm also super excited that they're doing a monster truck rally and a demo derby.
Wow, that's extremely you.
So if you want to pop down to Puyallup the weekend of April 10th to 12th or 17th to 19th, you can get your tickets at www.thefair.com. And kids under 5 are always free, so you can bring the whole family. When I first moved to Seattle, Town Hall was my lifeline to the city. I went to book talks, panels with interesting local thinkers, and even a concert. If you're looking for something fun to do or to learn something new, you'll find something going on nearly every night of the week with events spanning civics, science, and arts and culture. Town Hall is a nonprofit with a mission to amplify ideas, foster civil discourse, and connect people through events. And what I love most about Town Hall is that their events are produced by and for the community. Tickets to most events are offered on a sliding scale with free tickets for people under 22. And if you haven't been, they're located in a vibrant historic building on First Hill. And on Saturday, April 18th, author Maria Semple discusses her new novel with Jeopardy champ and host Ken Jennings. You can get tickets and view the full calendar of events at townhallseattle.org. In the Seattle Times recently, Gene Bach, the FYI guy, did a piece about how different generations are living in Seattle neighborhoods. So he essentially broke down which neighborhoods had the highest percentages of each age group, and he broke it down. So ages 0 to 10, young kids, ages 10 to 19, kind of teens, your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm going to have you all guess which neighborhoods have the highest density of these age groups. So if you had to guess, For kids 0 to 10, where do you think the highest percentage of those kids would be?
Green Lake.
Strong guess.
I would guess Loyal Heights up in
Oh, another good one.
yeah.
Adam, any guesses?
Madison Park.
Ooh, okay. Same vibe. Magnolia.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, which I guess I shouldn't be that surprised to hear.
It's an internal suburb, so that tracks.
Yeah, but I feel like in Seattle that would imply like deep retirement energy, kind of. So I'm surprised. That's cool.
Yeah, it's like not an area that I typically think of immediately when I'm like, lots of families live there. Okay, what about teens? So ages 10 to 19. Where would you guess that those folks are clustered?
Based on the amount of teens I see flying on city bikes, I want to say Rainier Beach.
Okay,
I don't know if that's. I just see so many teenagers flying on those. So.
I would have to pick somewhere on the south end, let's say Othello or Leschi.
I was going to say somewhere in West Seattle, like an Admiral moment or something like that.
Interesting. Okay. It turns out, and I'm just going to go ahead and spoil this for you, that it's not only the teens, it's also the 20-somethings are most strongly clustered in the U District.
Well,
Which feels obvious
yeah.
in retrospect, maybe,
Yeah.
that you've just got a lot of students running around in that area. All right, moving on to 30-somethings. Where do you think the most 30-somethings live?
I'm going to guess Central District. I feel like just like
Okay.
the density growth there and stuff. I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if all those apartments are mostly young, or I guess, I don't know if that's a young professional still. Are we considered young professionals? I don't know. Working
Sure.
professionals?
Phased out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my
young.
mind, it's young professional.
I'm going to hedge on that and say Capitol Hill.
Okay.
All the young techies.
I'll say First Hill just because I can't say Capitol Hill. How about that?
I mean, you all can have overlapping answers, but all of you, it turns out, are kind of wrong. It's in that western area of South Lake Union.
What?
It looks like it's
that was
that
my
area
second
that's
guess.
just west of Aurora, based on this map. Which I guess kind of tracks for me in terms of every time I've ever been on the bus on Dexter, I see a huge influx of people, probably roughly in their 30s, like seemingly going to Amazon's campus. So
I never even.
that makes sense to me.
0 for 3.
But
All right.
I think those are good guesses as well. All right, I'm going to skip 40s because I don't feel like it's terribly interesting. I think let's skip straight to 70s. Where do you think the highest density of 70-somethings live?
Broadmoor.
Wait, where is Broadmoor?
Exactly.
Broadmoor is the like kind of spooky gated community that's all like just east of Madison Valley.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Yes. My friend was telling me about the story where he tried to go running through there and he got stopped by the gate guard and he just pulled a complete white man thing of like, don't you know who I am? I live here, and made up an address. And it turns out it was a real address and now he gets to run there all the time. So congrats to him. Okay, Broadmoor. Okay, I see that. Other guesses?
Laurelhurst. The people who were angry at the Children's Hospital having better road access are probably not people that have had kids in a very long time.
Right.
Yeah, my guess it was gonna be like kind of like Sandpoint kind of area.
That would do.
Yeah, that was gonna be my guess. It feels so kind of isolated that you'd think.
Surprise, it's Tangletown.
Where's I don't know.
Which
where
also
Tangletown is.
doesn't
Where's
really
Tangletown?
surprise me, but I would think so. Actually, Laurelhurst has, it looks like, the highest density of 50-somethings, which kind of tracks to me. Not completely.
But it's
surprising.
interesting that the higher density neighborhoods also have higher densities of these different groups. So,
Yes.
Laurelhurst is not a very dense neighborhood, so that tracks too.
Right. All right, last one. Guess where the most people 80 and older live?
Long shot, Beacon Hill.
Hmm.
I feel like some of the elders I know that live up in those houses kind of tucked towards down onto Soto. I'm like,
Yeah.
a lot of elders live up there.
All the grannies who haven't moved to Bellevue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Damn. 80 something. But this is First Hill by the hospitals. I don't know.
There's a guess.
They got some high-rise retirement homes there
There's
too.
a guess. Any other guesses?
Yeah, hot take, maybe somewhere around Pike Place, so like around Benaroya Hall. They got to do the little commute to see the symphony.
To get the steps in.
All up to the symphony.
Yeah.
Okay, Adam, you're not wrong. So this one surprised me. It's a weird little sliver in South Lake Union. It's like the sliver of South Lake Union between 99 and 5, which I don't know what's over there, but apparently that's where the 80-year-olds are hanging out. So
I feel like
for
that's
them.
just like 6 110-year-olds who are skewing it. Because I'm just a bit confused.
You could be right. We'll have to ask FYI guy if he has any more details on that. But I think what's interesting about this map, none of the neighborhoods I would have guessed had the highest percentage of any of these ages were the neighborhoods where people actually live. And it might just speak to some neighborhoods, like for instance, the Hill, and also like the entirety of South Seattle being pretty mixed. Like that there just really aren't that many outliers in those areas. But this also got me thinking about other questions about neighborhoods. Like, for instance, not realizing that I don't know where Broadmoor is.
That's how they like it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
A thing that came up with friends recently when we were talking about neighborhoods is which neighborhood is the most island-like? Like, people just never leave it, or that it's like hard to get to, or that you don't find yourself going to a lot.
Yeah, the regionality of Seattle makes that kind of tough though, because I feel like a lot of people like I always joke with people, Union is as far north as I'll go. Like it's just kind of like my nature. So I feel like the islandness is really compartmentalized in interesting ways in Seattle. Like to me, Magnolia is just like that's another world, you know, not in a bad way. It's just such a isolated space. But I know Adam is a lot closer to it and spends a lot of cute time in the diners. They have great diners up there, or used to.
I like to ride my bike around Magnolia, but that's really the only time I'm ever there.
There you go.
What we're really talking about perhaps are like special trip zones.
Right.
So like places that you are going to go, they're probably not directly accessible through light rail at least. So like Georgetown is one of those for me. Like I need to have stack 2 different things I'm going to do, or 3 things, and then I'll go and make my Georgetown jaunt. But of course, I feel that way about Ballard too. So, and I know you guys don't like being viewed that way, but from the south end,
it's far up
that's
there,
how it
man.
looks.
I'm not a Ballard person. Some of my team is, but Ballard is definitely an island. If you don't live near Ballard, good luck getting there.
Totally.
Yep.
Through 2039 at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least it seems
If
like.
things work out. Yeah.
I mean, same deal with West Seattle, where I feel like lately I had some friends who lived in West Seattle for a while who have all since moved from there. But it's like if you don't have a reason to go and you're not already close to West Seattle, it can feel like a bit of a trip, especially when the bridge was out for so long.
Yeah, that was trippy.
And then sometimes still is occasionally when it gets stuck in the upright position.
I do feel like
I feel that way about
like
Fauntleroy.
Yeah.
Is that that's part of West Seattle, yeah?
Where the
ferry terminal.
I like Eastlake, but I just have no reason to be there. I really like it, and I feel like I walk around it and I feel very like, you know, like tourist head up in a fun way. Like I'm like, oh, this is cute. And then it's just like, when am I finding my way there? And I feel like it's fun to see and check out when I can.
There is a great sushi place in Eastlake, I'll say. But yes.
I can tell you that as you get older and more grizzled, more and more parts of the city will start to feel this way to you, especially if they're not on the light rail. It's just like, nah, you know, I need a reason to go there. I can't come up with one.
This is why we need more light rail. I think it'll give us less of an excuse to stay in our little box. It's like, I literally can just get into a little tube and it will take me somewhere else. And I don't even have to think about it or sit in traffic. But
yeah, totally.
All right. Well, thanks for playing my little game, you all. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll run through some of this week's biggest headlines so far in our midweek medley. If you're in Washington and you haven't tried King Harvest hummus yet, you're missing out on a locally made favorite. Since 1977, King Harvest Hummus has been making their small batch, fresh hummus in Portland, Oregon. It's not like an average hummus. It's a thicker texture combined with bold flavors, and it creates raving fans after tasting it. Not surprising, since it's made local and fresh on the shelf. Some of our favorite flavors are roasted red pepper, jalapeno, sun-dried tomato, and of course, the classic. You can eat this healthy dip with chips, veggies, or add it to a sandwich or wrap. Or maybe you just want to eat it with a spoon. Most people buy more than one because once it's open, this healthy dip disappears fast. You've got to try it to love it. Don't miss out on expanding your snack experience with this locally made fresh dip, King Harvest Hummus. Simple, better, one dip at a time. You can find King Harvest in the refrigerated section at your local grocery store. Hey, it's Jane, host of CityCast Seattle, and I want to tell you about something we just added for our CityCast Seattle neighbors that I am genuinely excited about. Every Friday after the regular episode wraps, neighbors get access to an exclusive bonus segment and a special members-only ad-free feed. And I'm not just talking about filler content. I'm talking about the stuff that we all actually want to say that doesn't actually fit into the regular show. Recently, we talked about that high-rise in Denny Triangle with the plane in between two towers. And one of our neighbors wrote in to tell us about the background of the plane, which is incredible. So if you are one of those listeners who really wants to dig deeper into the city with me and the rest of the CityCast Seattle team, join us as a neighbor. You'll get the Friday bonus segment plus ad-free listening. You'll get invites to members-only events and a weekly preview of the best things happening around the city and more. It's $10 a month or $100 a year, and it goes directly to supporting this show and the team of locals that makes it happen every day. You can read more and become a CityCast Seattle neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Seattle. Again, that's membership.citycast.fm/Seattle. And neighbors, I'll see you in the bonus segment this Friday. It is only Wednesday, but I feel like so much has already happened this week. I'm just going to tell you all about some of these headlines, and I want to know what you all think of them. So first, and maybe closest to my heart, I learned that our local bagel place, Hey Bagel, won Best Bagel at Bagel Fest West. Thank you to Sean Keeley, our resident bagel guy, for bringing us that news. I just love that we apparently have the best bagel place on the entire West Coast.
It's shocking that, the bagel culture that is starting to flourish here after here. I live in a Jewish household from the East Coast. So just hearing for years and years how terrible this place is for bagels and what garbage we're willing to settle for. And now there's people winning awards. Kenji Lopez Alt is putting out videos on the new bagel spots and everything. I mean, it's happening. It's finally happening. I think the lock situation is still not up to snuff with the East Coast, which is exceptionally weird since we have all the salmon in the world here and we can't do locks right. But it's a bold new era.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Ben and Andrew, we've been seeing stands since day one. So this is very exciting to hear. The Guardian published a piece featuring punk rock flea market, which is one of those things I love about Seattle, but I forget is actually really unique to our city. I mean, speaking of, pitching national publications, it's just such a fact of life here that I would never think to write about it for a general audience, but I really do love that it's getting some extra attention. So as you all probably already know, this takes place in the old QFC on the Hill. And it's just been flourishing over the last few years in particular.
I have a huge rant about how we need to use these giant empty commercial spaces. I grew up on Rainier Avenue and just watching all these spaces that are 8,000 square feet and just sitting empty for potentially decades at some of them at this point just doesn't make sense. So I think that what they're doing to me is not only indicative of what Seattle is to me in terms of that DIY culture and the things that we all grew up around. And honestly, you kind of touched on it, passively have just accepted because we're so used to it existing here. So anything that involves taking over these giant empty spooky spaces in our neighborhoods makes me super happy. And I hope they keep going. Next to the QFC on Rainier, there's a big empty Rite Aid. I'm always
Occupy the Rite Aid.
Occupy Rite Aid.
El Centro was started that way. A bunch of people got together and occupied a large government building until they couldn't take it away from them, and it's on now. So the Rite Aid, we could ride down Rainier and find 10 places in a mile.
The jumbo lot. I want the jumbo lot to be the best,
jumbo lot.
The best swap meet in America. That's what it should be. It's so big and empty. I used to go to one in SeaTac when I was a kid. That was like this old drive-in movie theater. And I just feel like Genesee and Rainier is like that perfect corner for transportation in just a huge haul to take home or take to the water. I could go on all day about this.
If you don't occupy it, it's going to get burnt down, is what we've learned in the past 2 years in Seattle. So do put something useful there.
Yeah.
I would love your map, Moran, of like places that should be converted into something else. I agree. The Rite Aid, we talked about this a little bit on the show when the news was first released that it might turn into a McDonald's. And everyone was like, can we please do something more interesting with this space? But to your point, I think that there are only so many types of businesses that can afford to move into a space that huge. And I mean, we're really lucky to have the Quality Flea Center in that old QFC right now.
Well,
but
as a case in point, the Punk Rock Flea Market used to be in the old bowling alley by the Mount Baker light rail station, and it was wildly successful there as well. So, you know, these places are thick on the ground right now.
Yeah, it seems like on all our main corridors. I really fundamentally believe like half of Rainier Avenue is empty at this point. Like, it's just like when you're whether bus, train, car, you're just kind of like, to me, it's starting to get comical where I'm like, this is crazy. Like half of this is just sitting empty. So give it to us.
give it to us, the people.
Or take it.
All right, I'm going to move on to the last headline here. The Seattle Times reports that the Department of Construction and Inspections has ordered the city's Department of Parks and Rec to remove, quote, hazardous conditions at Gasworks Park, like unsafe ladders, piping, and catwalks. So for context, if you all hadn't been paying attention to this, in the last decade and a half, there have been 3 deaths and 11 people seriously injured by climbing around on that old gasworks structure. But the preservation board there had been trying to block any changes to the park. Now, it seems like this is a way around that a little bit, where, you know, these 2 internal city departments are just kind of taking charge to make a change here. What do you all think of this big development?
Worth it.
This is one of those things where we're going to look back in 5 years and be like, what the hell took so long? There was some people in the neighborhood who like the extra little metal thingies hanging off it. But like for the rest of us, I just don't want people to die.
Yeah, basic
Hot take.
level there.
Very hot, as hot as they come.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us are former teenagers. I don't know what brand of former teenager you were. I was definitely the former teenager who would have probably wanted to poke around up there. And so I feel like removing that temptation, you know, does something. I don't know that it will completely prevent people who are truly trying to get up there, but it seems like a low-hanging fruit situation for sure.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see if the preservation board is going to have any reaction to this move.
I'm curious how long it'll take
Strongly
to.
written letter.
Yeah. Like I feel like there's some bureaucratic. Somehow they'll manage to make it take 10 years to take down Scout. You know, like it's like somehow they manage to make it last forever.
It's the Seattle way.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
a
That's
lot
what
of
I mean.
strongly
Yeah.
worded emails will probably be sent back and forth.
yeah.
And
So
we'll
studies-
be bringing you all of the twists and turns if we hear anything else. And if you hear anything else, please do get in touch with us, listeners. I would be very curious to see how this proceeds and kind of what the timeline will be for removing these hazardous conditions.
That energy really dovetails, though, with another piece of news from this week that the Winco, there was going to be a Winco on a big box supermarket on Aurora, and that seems indefinitely delayed now because of environmental reviews. There were some folks who sort of pushed back against it on Aurora. So it seems like maybe that Winco will come up by the time that the Gasworks stairs have come down. Maybe there's a direct correlation there.
I do wonder how an environmental review on Aurora goes in that I'm like, you know, the exposure to smog and also the complete lack of wildlife, it feels like that would probably be hanging out on that corridor. Where on Aurora was this Winco supposed to go?
Somewhere, I think, sort of near the Seattle shoreline border, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So up there.
Up there, yeah.
All right. Well, it'd be nice to have another grocery store, but, you know, it might be years until we can have nice things because sometimes that's the way it goes here.
Decades.
All right. That's all for today here at CityCast Seattle. Brett Hamill, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Adam Willems, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
And Maron Mangastab, thank you for joining us. If folks want to learn more about Chum, where should they go?
Yeah, please check out our website. This is chum.news, under the same thing on social media at chum.news. And also, if you're a writer, drawer, painter, poet, anything, pitch us. We want to hear from you. We'd love to support all kinds of ideas that come through this great city.
I want to see more weird, amazing shit in Chum. So yeah, pitch Chum. All right, listeners, remember that it's our spring membership campaign, and we've got these gorgeous pennants for you. So for $10 a month, you can get ad-free listening and the sweet satisfaction of supporting local media. I also just wanted to shout out our newest CityCast Seattle neighbor, Harrison, who I had the pleasure of actually meeting IRL last week. So be like Harrison and join us as a CityCast Seattle neighbor. And also, we always love hearing from you guys. If you have any thoughts on, the new Winco, Gasworks removing all those little ladders, or which neighborhood you think is most like an island, you can always send us an email at seattle@citycast.fm. You can also text us or leave us a voicemail on the CityCast hotline at 206-880-3931. Until next time, see you, Seattle. If you're enjoying the podcast, be sure to follow us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen so you never miss an episode. Also, leave us a little review. It's really helpful. And tell your friends about us. You can also get more local news and events delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter. Just go to seattle.citycast.fm. And you can find us on Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok at CityCast Seattle. And you can watch full episodes of this show on YouTube.